All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining us here with Justin Hutchens, aka Hutch, who is the leads our research and development team here at Set Solutions, and wanted to give a quick few minutes to talk about the sessions you're giving at RSA conference this year. Is this the first time you've spoken at RSA? Or?
This will be the first time I've spoken at RSA.
Okay,
It'll actually be the first time I've been to RSA too. I've gone to a lot
wow.
of
So
conferences.
he's a real hacker. He doesn't go to things like RSA. No shade on RSA. It just tends to be more of I think a business leader type of a session, but it's cool what you're bringing to it. So you're bringing kind of that black hat / DEF CON style of talk, and one of the talks that you're giving to RSA, and the other one's a birds of a feather, where you're talking to some leaders in the community about, and both of them are all around artificial intelligence, right?
That's correct.
So I know that you've given talks. I've watched the talks around what you call the catfishing with AI, and you've done that for 10 years, something like that. But what you're talking about this year is a lot of that same content, but with a lot changed around what ChatGPT is enabled for you to do, with the same type of catfishing that you're done to kind of fool people into using whatever, hacking method you are trying to get into their environment. So why don't you kind of talk about that one first, and then we'll talk about what you're doing with the birds of a feather session.
Certainly. So the talk is called Catfish Automation. Okay. And as you mentioned, it really builds on 10 years of research in using conversational artificial intelligence for the purpose of automating social engineering attacks. And it's been fascinating to watch the progression from when I started this. I did a talk at TourCon back in 2013 about this. And at the time, the conversational artificial intelligence honestly, it was amusing. It was terrible when you look at it in contrast to the capabilities of modern artificial conversational intelligence like ChatGPT. But the interesting thing was that even back then, if it was fully automated, whenever you were casting a wide net and interacting with hundreds or even thousands of potential victims, even if it only worked 5 to 10% of the time, you still had a significant amount of results.
It's the same type of idea of spamming.
Exactly.
It may look horrible, but you send enough of them out, somebody's going to click it.
So what's interesting now is that with the new advancements in natural language processing and large language models, they've become so sophisticated to the point where it's no longer that just 5 to 10% that would potentially fall for it. I mean, it's no stretch to say that we've now hit a point where many of these systems have beaten the Turing test. You interact with them, and if you don't know you're interacting with a machine, you likely would not have a clue that you are. And so what I was able to do was take some of that same idea that I had with those original talks of focusing on social engineering and using the GPT 3.5, which is the model that ChatGPT was built on. Using that model, and specifically with the API, you're actually able to provide it system instructions. And we were able to use those system instructions in order to define a pretext of what the system was, who it was in relation to who it was interacting with, also what its objective was. So some of the proof of concepts that we did a password harvesting scenario where the bot would pretend to be a help desk representative attempting to get your password so it could do a critical update on your system. Another scenario that we did was a wire fraud scenario where it would reach out as a third-party vendor to an organization and ask to change the bank account associated with the invoices for its organization. And then another one that we did was kind of your traditional Social Security Administration scam, where it would reach out and basically indicate that your information has been compromised. I need to get some information from you in order to set up your identity protection that you are now entitled to.
But the thing about this is that the API is enabling you to do this, because I know, as a lot of us, an internal dialogue that we've had with ChatGPT in our Slack channels and stuff, there are limitations that ChatGPT just flat stops you. And I mean, I can't even write stories that have a bad guy winning at the end, right?
So if you use the OpenAI ChatGPT web interface, there are a lot of restrictions around it. And while some people have been able to bypass that with jailbreaks, or you've got the Dan do anything now type scenarios, those don't exist within the API, at least not as of now. Now that may change once they start to realize that people do and will use this for malicious purposes.
And to be clear, this is not a bug. This is built into it. They are
This is a
aware
feature,
of this
not a
is a
bug.
feature. This is not a disclosure issue or whatever. You're just taking advantage of that to do certain things that the web interface limits you to.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay.
And of course, using the API then allows me to take that bot, and instead of having somebody interact with it on ChatGPT, I can now plug it into LinkedIn or Twitter or Microsoft Teams or Slack or any kind of chat-based interface in order to further that social engineering attack. And of course, once you get at that pretext and that objective, it does everything on its own. There's no human interaction. I don't have to create anything beyond that. It uses the intelligence of that large language model in order to persistently attempt to persuade somebody to give up that information or perform the action.
So I want to ask you a ton of questions, but I don't want to give spoilers on this because I want people to go to your talk. So do you know when that session is off the top of your head?
It is on Tuesday. I don't, the 25th, I believe. I'm not sure what time. Off the
so look for that with Justin Hutchens, aka Hutch, on there from Set Solutions. That's the coolest one that we want to talk about, but we do want to talk about what you're going to do with your birds of a feather. And it's also around the artificial intelligence. So what are you doing with that session?
So that is a discussion of ethics as it pertains to rapid AI innovation. And so we're now seeing a situation where, and I think for a while now, we've seen the rapid development and deployment of technology drastically change our lives. I mean, we see that with social media, with the instant gratification culture that the internet has created, and some of the consequences of that on mental health, on children. And so, of course, ChatGPT and these large language models is really just the next step in that evolution. It is a instant gratification. No longer do you even need to search for the answers that you're looking for. You can just directly ask a question and you immediately have that response. So it is that same instant gratification culture, just an even further extreme. So I think largely what I want to accomplish with that birds of a feather is start having discussions to just understand people's perspectives of what their concerns are as far as leaders in the industry, of not only the impacts to our enterprise organizations, which that's certainly a concern that we're going to look at, but also society as a whole, and what obligations do we have in technology and in security in order to protect people from the potential consequences of those.
Yeah, so the conversation that needs to be had. I mean, you and I've had 2 discussions over the last 3 or 4 weeks with security leaders and some of our customers that have wanted to know how they could use it within their organization, but do it ethically and do it where it's not leaking all of their data out. Absolutely. And all the other issues that come with it. So this is something that's moving extremely fast, and people are picking up on it extremely fast. It presents a threat, presents opportunities. How can we take advantage of both? Applying some ethics to those standards makes a lot of sense as well. So I'm excited to be there to talk to watch those. Anybody can go that's got a ticket to RSA. Please look that up and go to Hutch's session. I think it's going to be really exciting. Really cool to see you on the forefront of some of this. I mean, I think there are a lot of people that are talking about it, but I just see a differentiator in a lot of what you're doing. It seems like you're on the forefront and really excited about it. So thanks for putting that together.
Absolutely excited.
All right, man. See you there.
Yep. Sounds good.